Hey, this is Trissa from Sewing and Things, and in this video, we're gonna go over sewing up the diagonal color block for the Constance sew along. I think this is one of my favorite of the three color blocks, though the sleeve, my cat snuck in here. But oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Because my cat. I think this one might be my favorite, though the sleeve color block is also a top contender. But when I first sewed this, I accidentally sewed on my neckband with the black fabric, and it did not look very good. The neckband ties in this lower fabric together, so I don't suggest you doing your neckband the same color as your top color block piece, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, so let's get to it. You should already have your pieces all prepped and ready, but if not, I will link a video. So let's get to it. We need to start off by figuring out which side you want your color blocking to be, and also which shoulder you want your color blocking to be. So here, this is if the color blocking is going to be going on the left shoulder. If you want it to go on your right shoulder, you would make sure you cut out the pieces like this with your the right side of your fabric facing up. The inspiration photo has her color blocking on the right shoulder, so I'm just going to stick with that. And I already decided that I'm going to have my black on this side and my white on this one. I'm going to start off by cutting that out. You want to make sure that your fabric is nice and flat. And this is some pointel fabric from Mily Mae. Make sure the stretch is going the right direction. And if you need to, use some pattern weights to keep your fabric or pattern from sliding around. I'm just going to put a pin here in the right side on the front. That way I make sure I don't get that mixed up with the back piece. You want to make sure that your fabric is being cut out with the right side facing up on all of your fabric that you're cutting out other than the sleeve. Just keep that in mind. This fabric is the wide butterfly rib from Mily Mae Fabrics. It's super pretty. I need my other front piece. And cut out my back piece now. Now, with both of our back pieces and our front pieces cut out, we now need to cut out our sleeves and our neckband. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with my projector. Now, one sleeve is going to be white and one sleeve is going to be the black butterfly. So this is where you have to make sure that you're cutting out your fabric the right way. So if we look at our front piece here, I want this side to be black and I want this side to be white. So I need to make sure that I'm cutting it to where the proper, since it's the sleeve is cut on, it has a different front and the back, we need to make sure we're cutting that out. So the front of my white sleeve is going to be on this side and my front of my black sleeve is going to be on this side. So when looking at your front piece, when your sleeve and your front piece are right sides together, the black one, I need to have the front on the left side when it's wrong side facing up, and I need the white on the right side when wrong side is facing up. So this right now is on the right side, so I need to flip this around and cut it out on this side. And also since the pin is a rolled sleeve or a long short sleeve, I am going to start off by cutting out the sleeve on the elbow cuff cut line. And then I'll try it on before I hem it to see if I need to make it a little bit shorter, since I'm not 100% sure how long that's going to be. But if this ends up being wrong, I have plenty of white to be able to fix it. So, but right now I am cutting this wrong side facing up on the elbow cuff cut line. And I like to put a pin in the shoulder mark as well as the front to make sure I don't get that mixed up. So I'll put this aside and then I will cut out my butterflies. This time with my fabric facing up. And since this is a little hard to see, I'm going to see if I can invert the colors to see if that'll help. That did a little bit. I'm going to turn off my light. I hate cutting out black fabric sometimes because of this. And again, I'll put it on my front and on my shoulder marking. I also need my neckband cut out. So we're going to start off by piecing our color block pieces together. So here are my two front pieces. I'm going to start off by placing those right side together. Make sure you're matching up those corners of your fabric. And go ahead and pin those in place. And if you are sewing with a sewing machine, you can use wash away Wonder Tape or a hem tape, which will keep your fabric from stretching while you're sewing, which sometimes happens when you sew knits on a sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this one together, and then I'll come back. This is roughly what it should look like. Make sure when you attach this, you are sewing this on with whatever seam allowance you gave yourself when you were making your color block template pieces. So I'll go ahead and do that exact same thing on the back side. Make sure your fabric is right sides together. So go ahead and sew that, and then we'll come back. Now with your front and back both color blocked, go ahead and grab your other front piece and lay them right sides together. Now we're going to sew our shoulder seams together with a 3/8 of an inch, and make sure you are lining up your points. This is where it's important to make sure that you did it in the same spot. That way these points will match up and still match up with the rest of your sleeve, or with the rest of your shoulder. So go ahead and let's sew both of those on, and then we'll come back. Now right here on the shoulder seam, it can get a little tricky. You can nest the seams, which would mean that one seam would be facing this way, and then this seam would be facing this way. That way it gets that point nicer. You can also baste it down to help hold it in place. But since my fabric is white and black, I didn't want to nest my seam because I didn't want to see the black on the white side. Now you can go ahead and take a look at that. So that looks pretty good. So now we're going to attach our sleeves. So I'd like to open it up. And grab your black sleeve. I like to start by pinning the shoulder seam. And see? The front and the front, so we cut it out right. So that's a win. And turn it over. You're going to slightly ease your sleeve piece together. I personally usually do this by wrapping this piece around my leg and then pinning it. Helps hold it down a lot better than using my table. Do the same thing to the other side with our white sleeve. Now with both of those pinned, we're going to go ahead and sew those on. With both of our sleeves sewn on, we're now going to sew up our side seams. Now really the main thing that you have to do is make sure that your points are matching up. So as long as you made sure that you sewed the correct seam allowance on both pieces, as well as you marked out the same distance when you were making your color blocking template, it should match up. But I'm going to start off by pinning my point. Now go ahead and pin the other side and then sew both of those up, and then we'll come back. With both of your side seams sewn, go ahead and open up your shirt and take a peek and see what it looks like. Pretty cute. See, my point actually turned out pretty good here. To stay up to date on the latest videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel, or you can check out my blog at sewingandthings.com.